Let's take Menendez first. How
Right.
strong is the case against him?
The case against him is pretty strong, but it'll depend on what happens to the doctor who's indicted with him, who is the person that allegedly paid the bribes. If the doctor pleads guilty and flips and agrees to testify as a government witness, the senator will definitely go down. If the doctor resists, along with Menendez, then the jury will have to decide, who do we believe? Are these two friends that are normally exchanging gifts, or was the doctor bribing him?
All right, joining us now is Paul Mulshine, columnist for the Newark Star-Ledger. Hello, Paul.
Hi, how you doing?
All right, let's talk about this this Menendez indictment. I mean, I think it's politically motivated. I think they could indict Harry Reid, as I spoke about with Andy McCarthy earlier in the show, if they wanted to. It's pick and choose. I think there was discretion here, and they, for whatever reason, some would say political reasons, they decided to pull the trigger on it. How is this being, how is it playing out in the state of New Jersey?
Oh, Menendez isn't very popular here. As I wrote, he's the first Hudson County politician elected to anything since the 1930s, and we all expect this kind of behavior from our Hudson friends. Generally, they don't let them out of the county because this sort of thing just goes on all the time, and they get away with it in Hudson. But you can't go to a big stage like the Senate and keep acting the way you acted back when you were the mayor of Union City, which is what Menendez did.
So if he, I mean, so you think there's a possibility that Menendez will step aside pending the outcome of the trial? I mean, you know him, you know how he operates?
No, he won't step aside pending the outcome of the trial. What a lot of my conservative friends have been saying is, and are pining for, is that he just gives it up and we get an election on the November ballot. I've heard more than a few conservatives, including Charles C. Johnson, the guy who first broke the story for the Daily Caller, speculating that once he takes a good look at the case against himself, he is going to say that he really can't win it or doesn't want to risk it because, as you know, the penalties are so huge if you lose a federal case. I mean, they can give you 10 years without parole easily. I think right now he would take a deal to just resign without jail time because it just looks too perilous for him. I mean, he might beat the rap, but I wouldn't want to be the guy who goes, the next 9 months or 10 months of his life wondering if he's going to spend the next 10 years in prison.
All right. So if that does come to fruition, who are the conservatives you speak to in New Jersey excited about putting on the ballot in that spot?
Steve Lonigan, the guy who ran against Cory Booker in the special election in 2013. He's all primed and ready to go. He's our most arch-conservative. He's the guy who went against Christie in the 2009 gubernatorial primary.
Yep.
Very hardcore conservative and got great conservative support. And, of course, if Christie were to, assume Menendez resigns next week, if Christie were to put him in the Senate seat and let him campaign as the senator till November, it would be a powerful message to the rest of the country that Christie is a real conservative.
Right.
So it would work in Christie's interest, and of course Christie always does what works in Christie's interest.
He's screwed. I mean, he's screwed around with letting Booker waltz in because of concern for he didn't want.
No, that really wasn't the case. He couldn't have stopped Booker. And Steve was really digging into Booker.
Yes, Steve did quite well. Election. Yeah. Well, let me ask you about Booker here. If Hillary falters or doesn't run, I mean, many people have talked about Booker as the next Obama. To me, they're both a bunch of nothing. I mean, does Booker have a shot to catapult to the national stage at this point?
Well, I put out a blog post on it, just speculating that, number one, knowing Cory, he has the biggest ego this side of Chris Christie, right?
Yep.
Huge ego, huge ambition, just like Chris Christie. And let's face it, my thought there was that you're never going to see another Democratic primary without an Obama-like figure in it because 22% of the Democratic primary base is African American. If you're the African American and you start that race with 22% support, Scott Walker is polling 17 in South Carolina. I mean, South Carolina is 50% black. A black guy would poll 50% just by entering that race, right?
Yeah.
Now, why would you pass that up? Deval Patrick, the Massachusetts ex-governor, who's very similar
Well, Paul,
situated.
we only got 10 seconds. So does Booker enter even if Hillary is in, or no?
If Hillary falters, like you said, I think falters is the good term.
Okay, Paul, great talking to you, sir. We'll speak to you again. Paul Mulshine, Newark Star Ledger, ladies and gentlemen. Back with more of the show. Don't go away.